Right, so we were talking a lot about vocal harmonies there, obviously doing Lucky, and I was just mentioning a couple of things about how it works. And I was just asked a couple of things as well about how to go about putting a harmony to an already existing line. So I just want to talk a bit about that. Um, so we're talking about thirds, a third harmony. Sort of what does all that mean, and how do you find it, right? So a third means moving up to the third position in the scale. Okay, so let's say if we're starting off, let's take right on as an example, just to do something other than lucky. So that starts off at the do, the sort of the starting point, the one. So if we're in A minor, one is an A note. Okay, so it's all relative. So if you're in the key of D minor, then D is your number one. That's do. That's your baseline. Okay, so let's say if we're here, true you ride the finest horse. So that's the one we want to harmonize with, right? Now, so we take the first note, true, a third above that. Now, one thing to keep in mind that's very important here is when we say moving up a third, it's not like, let's say, a board game. If you roll a three, you go one, two, three. In music, if you move up by a third, you count your initial position, right? So it's here's where you are. Here's the A note. Let's say it's one, two, three. So that's moving up by a third. So with the scale, then there's obviously certain notes that you skip. You don't just when you're playing a scale, you don't just go. It's now you don't. We can get into the technical ways of sort of knowing how knowing which ones to skip and all that, but it's really not necessary. You can use if you can sing and and hold a note at all, your intuition should be enough here. So let's say if we start off with true you ride, just that. So he's on a single note there, right? So true, you take that and you just sing two steps above that, right? Because remember, if we're going up by a third, we count our initial position, right? True. Now, as for how do you know those notes and not other notes? Well, you kind of you just know. Let's say if I do the wrong notes, let's say. You know that's wrong. You know there's a contradiction in there somewhere and it's just not sitting right. So, there's your first note. One, two, three, true. So, the rest of the line, the initial line that is, goes true you ride the finest horse. So you just want to take that movement and bring it all up by a third. So if we take our note that's a third above the first note, so true first note, there's our third above. So that's the note the harmony is going to be starting on. So it would be true you ride. Now after on the word the, it goes down a notch, let's say, or a step. True you ride the finest horse. True you ride the finest horse. Go up by a third. Ooh, and start there. True you ride the finest horse. So just if you get a partner with that, give it a go and see. And it's very and try it. It's a bit of trial and error. But once you start getting it, number one, it's really satisfying. Just to hear those notes kind of bouncing off each other in a way that's really just colorful and just generally pleasant to listen to. That's number one. And number two is as I was saying, yeah, you can go the technical route and sort of know why every note is where it is and all that, but it's really not necessary. Building up an intuition of just sort of knowing what sounds right and what doesn't. So as I said, do, do, you wouldn't put that note in there, so it's kind of obvious that that's wrong. So da 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 da. So that's all the stuff that should be there. And again, so once you know that, that's basically your do re mi. Do re mi is 1 2 3. Okay, so do re mi fa sol la ti do, right? So that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So you've got do as the 1 and do as the 8, meaning that the first note of the scale and the eighth note in the scale represent the same note. So for example, if we take C major, there's a C note there, the open C string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's a C note there, and that's a C note there. So now, one thing to point out as well is that it's not always a third. I probably should have said that at the start of the video, but anyway, it's not always a third. It could be anything. Now, bluegrass was mentioned as well, that type of thing. A lot of those harmonies would be fourths. But, I mean, it's the same logic. So let's say we want to put a fourth harmony on this. True, 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 you ride the finest horse. There it is there. So you're just starting a little bit higher and making those same adjustments as we go. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know if this kind of sheds any light on it. But before you do, give it a go. Try. I think Right On is a nice kind of simple example of how that kind of thing can work. How you can kind of layer it up a little bit. So do get a partner who can at least hold a note vocally and try it. And another thing about harmony as well is, as I was saying earlier on, it's about confidence. It's about being sure of what your line is, being aware of the person you're singing with, but not being distracted by them. What can tend to happen an awful lot is whoever is less sure of their line will kind of just go in unison with the other person that they're harmonizing with, and they're both singing the same thing. So just be aware of that possibility as well. But give it a go, and then let me know if this was helpful, and if there's still sort of something that's you're not sure about, and I'll get into it a bit further. All right, see you again on with that anyway.